Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to StudyIQ. So, this session specifically for the IGP 2023, our interview guidance program, where what we'll try to do is take some questions from the students and sir will also try to discuss with the students. So I first of all want to welcome Mr. Anil Swarup sir, who has been a guiding light for all of us during our StudyIQ, being the head mentor of StudyIQ and helping us in this interview guidance program. I would also like to congratulate one of our fellow students from IGP, Mr. Arjun, who has secured All India Rank 1 in the just released Indian Economic Services result. So, Arjun is here. Yes, Arjun is here. So, a great day, Arjun, for all of us, and wish you all the best. So, I would now request Anil sir to please start the conversation today.
A very good evening to all of you and compliments to Arjun. Where are you, Arjun? Are you there? No, he isn't here. Probably celebrating his success in the Indian Economic Services. So friends, first of all, I would like to see your faces. Please open your videos because as I said during the last session, it's very difficult to talk to me to a laptop. I'm so glad many of you have indeed opened your videos. So please open your, whoever hasn't, please open your videos. Now, this interaction with you will be in two parts. Since I last spoke to you on a platform like this, more than 100 of you have joined afresh. So I thought I'll recap what I told you last time and then take on questions from you. The objective of this session is primarily to enable you to answer questions that are tricky in nature, that could be political in nature, that could be controversial in nature. My job will not be to provide you with information. What I will do is I'll ask you to answer that question first. And then I will tell you what language should you couch an answer in to appear as a person who's objective, rational, logical. So my job, because I'm not as aware as most of you, you have been very conversant with what's going on in and around the world. So you would be in a better position to provide facts, but I will explain to you how you can use this fact to the best effect, right? May I also once again request Ankur, Shubham, Arjun to open your videos. I don't know why haven't you? Is there any problem? Ankur, you have such fantastic hairstyle. Why do you remain behind the screen every time? I remember your hairstyle last time also. I had to compliment you for your hairstyle, but you chose to remain behind the curtain. Anyway, so now that you are here, so first of all, I would like to reiterate what I said during the last interaction with you all with regard to what exactly board wants. It is extremely important for you all to understand what exactly is the board looking at, because I have sneaked into some of the group discussions that you had, and I will try and quote from some of those group discussions to tell you where things are right and where things are not so right. So the board is not looking at your knowledge per se. And I'm repeating, many of you spending hours together in pouring into news, magazines, this, that, everything to enhance your knowledge. No harm, enhance your knowledge. But let me tell you, board is not looking to evaluate you on your knowledge. Board is looking to evaluate you on how you present that knowledge. Knowledge is important, but what is even more critical is how you go about expressing yourself. And hence, expression is of critical importance. Later, during the later part of this interactive session, I will take specific examples of how do you answer a particular question, because ultimately it will be answering questions raised by board members, where knowledge will certainly be helpful. But it will be worse if you have knowledge, but you are unable to express in the manner in which the board wants, because board is looking at how good at are you expressing it, how logical are you in expressing it, how rational are you in expressing it, how positive are you in your approach. These are the aspects looking at, and hence expression becomes important. During my previous session and repeated communications to you all, and many of you have been reading it, some of you have been ignoring it to your own peril, as I said. You will regret it 2 months down the line and say, I wish I had heard and done what Mr. Swarup had said. You would have qualified. I think those that are here are doing it. Those that are here, not here, perhaps are doing or not doing it. I had suggested very clearly, and I'm repeating it, every morning, pick up the newspaper that you have. And this is also addressed to all the new entrants here. I had conveyed this to them in my messages, but this is extremely, extremely important. It might appear to be an uneasy exercise to begin with, but it needs to be done. Pick up the newspaper, pick up the editorial article, and read it aloud in front of a mirror. Record it. After having done that, put the newspaper down and speak out the same thing in your own words. This is tricky because you've not been in this situation. For the past year and a half, all of you were spending more time in reading and writing, not speaking. And now is the time that you should speak as much as you can. So the first drill is to read the newspapers in the morning. Can I see some nods of head of those that are doing it? Can I see somebody who's not doing it? Be candid enough to admit it. All of you are doing it. Manpreet, you are not doing it. Manpreet, please do it because it's in your own interest. I don't know whether you joined the group recently, whether you've been reading my messages. I've been harping on this point time and again. And I request all of you that there is a lot of effort that is going into sending these messages to you. I mean, people have often asked me, why are you doing all this? I've been doing this for past few years because I enjoy interacting with all of you. But if you don't take advantage of this, then the purpose stands defeated. So I request Manpreet, as the others are doing, please look at my video on how to improve communication skills. This link to this video has already been sent to all of you. Manpreet, has it come to you, that link? Please nod your head or say no. Okay, so you ignored that link. Manpreet, do what is being suggested of you. You worked very hard to come this distance. Why do you want to lose it out at the last moment? Because you will be competing with people who are good at expressing themselves. Perhaps you are already very good at it, but this will help you. That's drill number one. Drill number two is, which all of you are doing it, to get into a group and have a group discussion every day without failure. This is important. You may not again realize that you are busy acquiring knowledge, more and more knowledge. If you are unable to express yourself, all knowledge will be useless because you have to express whatever you have. So the focus should be, yes, you acquire knowledge, but more importantly, since you already have enormous amount of knowledge, you all have cleared the written exam, so you have that knowledge. How do you express that knowledge in words? So that is very, very critical. Please follow these two things. You know, in the past couple of days, I've been sneaking into these groups and I see that not everyone is taking these group discussions seriously. So we have taken a call here in StudyIQ because this is a lot of effort, as I said, is going into it. We will have only serious persons sitting and discussing with us. We don't want to delete anybody's name, but if someone is casual about it, I personally feel that even if he accidentally gets into the civil service, he'll bring a further bad name to the civil service because casual approach doesn't help. So if you're not serious about it, yourself get out of the group. Let only serious people participate in these discussions and do the best. So that is what I was suggesting to you all. The other point that I'd like to suggest to the new entrants, I had hammered this point earlier, and when Jagrati Avasthi, the second position holder for 2020 spoke, she also emphasized this point. Take a look at your DAF very closely, and think of the questions that could be asked. Now, you can do it yourself, but you can also use the services of your group members. You can, in fact, one day in your group discussion or 2 days in a group discussion, go through the DAF of each individual and let the other 3-4 persons come up with the questions that could be asked. You know, I'm now going into the second stage of converting this group into some sort of a mock interview. So what will typically happen here is that one person will be interviewed or his personality will be tested. The other 4 members of the group will become board members. And that is when they will closely look at the DAF and ask questions of the person. And this can be done on rotation. So next 5 days or after 5 days, next 5 days, you can have a mock interview at the group level. Let me tell you one thing. My understanding of the board members is none of them would be as knowledgeable as you are. None of them. I'm telling you, I interacted with them informally, many of them. None of them. Why? Because you are conversant with what's going on. So you would be in a better position to ask questions of the person you are interviewing. Make use of this opportunity, but unless you get into that culture of group discussion, participating in group discussion, I wonder, people say that I'm not well, I'm not participating in group. I wonder whether that unwell person will participate in the UPSC board on the day the interview is. Think over it. Think over it. You would do it. So, in the comfort of your home, if you have to participate in a web-based group discussion, you are giving this as a reason for not participating, of not being well, or doing something more important. What could be more important for you than participating in a group discussion? As I keep saying, you work very hard to come this distance and you want to lose out at this stage. I feel pained with regard to some of you, not those that are visible here, because I see some of your faces in group discussions, who are taking it casually. How do you do that? I mean, I fail to understand. Having worked so hard at it, now you don't know how to get into it. So think over it. So understanding DAF is extremely, extremely important. Please work towards it. Then I come to a very important point of mock interviews. You know, I converse with some of you one-on-one, even otherwise. And many of you are, someone asked me, how many mock interviews should I do? Frankly speaking, if your mock interview is good, which is important, then one mock interview is sufficient. The purpose of mock interview is not to prepare you. The purpose of mock interview is to make an assessment of you as to which are your strengths, which are your weaknesses. And if a mock interview is good, it will be able to tell you clearly, the people there, that these are your strengths, these are weaknesses. Then do not spend time on more mock interviews. Spend time on working on your weaknesses and building on your strengths. This is extremely important. Many of you are traveling distance to attend mock interviews without realizing it's just a test. It is not preparing you for the final interview. It is important. Mock interviews are important in the context of understanding your own persona. But if you did 10 mock interviews, how will it help you to understand more? And then you won't have time to improve. So focus on utilizing the time on improving yourself rather than only testing yourself. Please think over it. These are the things which are very important. Now, before I open up for questions from your end, couple of things that I wanted to tell you. One, I have been witnessing some of your group discussions, and this is something which you should all try and note. Do not make categorical statements. For example, I was listening to a group discussion where the discussion was on mining of coal, and the person who was presenting the case was saying that tribal approvals are not taken, appropriate procedure is not followed, it leads to tribal exploitation. Now, such categorical statements will land you in trouble. Why? Because I have had that experience. There are a number of cases where indeed approval is not taken. Indeed, Gansaba, but that's only 10 to 20% of the cases. So can you make a categorical statement stating that approval of tribals are not taken, the rights of tribals are not taken care of? Yes, there are many cases where such approvals or such concurrence is not taken. So it would be better to couch your statement in a manner that it does not appear categorical. Why? Because at your age, at your experience, you are not supposed to know the final truth. So don't express it as a final truth. Don't say this is wrong. Extreme statements should, as far as possible, be avoided. You should give a balanced view, and thereby, in a case like coal mining, you would say, sir, there have been instances where approval of the Gram Sabha has not been taken, or tribal rights are not taken care of. You can't say tribal rights are not taken care of categorically, as if in every case they are not taken care of, because that's not the truth. So if somebody is sitting there, he will corner you in that. Do you mean that they are absolutely not taken care of? Which is incorrect, because in large number of cases they are. I've just given you one example to illustrate, and we'll discuss it further as you raise your questions, as to why taking a categorical stand or a hardline stand or an extreme stand can land you in trouble. Second, when you discuss in a group, you should speak in a manner as if you are addressing the board. So no casual word, no casual statement, and try and speak in the third person. In one group, I found that a gentleman was talking about we did this, and he was talking as if on behalf of the government in the parliament. So it has to be in third person. All statements have to be in third person. When it comes to your own point of view, you can say, sir, my view is this. That's fine. But if the government is doing something, is come up with a scheme, you can't say we came up with the scheme. Government came up with the scheme. So you have to be careful about that. Then another thing which I noticed was when anybody is speaking, and that anybody speaking is the board members. Anyone except who's speaking is a board member. So if someone interrupts, then the speaker should stop forthwith. Fourthly, you should get into the habit that you are speaking out your statement, and certainly another group member speaks, you stop. Because board member has precedence over you, you stop. As against that, if somebody else is speaking, I'm assuming a board member speaking, never interrupt. Let him complete. These are small things, but reflect your attitude. So it is very, very important. Just 2-3 more things, and then we'll go to the questions here. I have been holding, we held this one-on-one offline interaction earlier, where I interacted with 27 of you. It was very good for me also, because I came to understand you all and give you some suggestions. I hope some of you benefited from it. A similar offline session is scheduled for 12th of January. Now, those of you who are interested may write to Furqan. I have another request to make here. If you have had a mock interview in between, wherever, not material where you have it, just jot down the points that they have mentioned to you. Because what the mock interview people will tell you is what is right and what is wrong. During my discussion with you, I'll tell you how to overcome those individual issues. So today, in this interactive session, I will not take individual issues. You have a problem somewhere, personal problem, that is all one-to-one. Because I've lost count of how many of you have interacted virtually. And you are again welcome. All you have to do is to message me, and I'll fix a time. I have done that, except in case of Preeti. I don't know whether she's today. I don't see her here, but if she's around, she's the only person I have not yet been able to give time. All others I've given time and interacted with them. And I hope they benefited from them. So that is online. And then we'll talk about future sessions. So I'll stop here. These are the initial opening remarks that I have to make. Now, what we will do is, you will raise your hand electronically. I will call out your name, and then you unmute yourself. You raise your questions, and then we'll discuss how to answer that question. Is that fine with us, with all of us? Nods? Good. Right. So who's the first one? Yes, Preeti, I'm sorry I couldn't give you time. Don't ask any personal question. We'll have it separately. Unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, my question is, one of the question that was posted in the group was, should India go for offensive policy like China is doing in salami slicing case? So, sir, I want to know the stand of our government in this question. Like, what is?
No, forget about the stand of the government, because you are not. It is immaterial. You will tell me what is your thought on it, and then I'll tell you how to answer it. No, I can answer it straight away, but I don't want to do it.
Okay.
I want you to come up with an answer, and then I'll tell you what language you should use.
Sir, salami slicing is used in case of China, territorial, where China is taking territorial territorial thing, where China is slowly taking the territory of other country, and it has been an issue with all the neighboring countries. Like, everyone is facing this issue. So in case of India, I think that we have already a kind of stand where we follow the Panchsheel policy, and we respect others' sovereignty, so other countries' sovereignty. So I don't think that India should go for an offensive policy as such as China is adopting right now.
See, by and large, what you're saying is correct, but don't come with the conclusion should not go.
Okay.
Use the term, it may not be advisable for India to go it. Then they will ask you why. That's a different thing. But, I'm repeating this time and again. Don't take categorical statement, should not do this, should not do that. Okay. It would be advisable. Write down these words and use them in your conversation so that you avoid a statement which is categorical in nature. So even if you want to say what you say, that it is a fact, sir, that China has been responsible for slicing of land of its neighbors and other countries, even in maritime areas. They have been trying to encroach upon others' territory. And they are perhaps trying to do in India's case. Why I use the word perhaps? Because this is contested by the government. That they have not. I mean, you may say they have, I may say have, but it's still not clearly established, or the government does not accept it as a dictum that they have encroached upon our land. They've been trying to do that, and India has been stopping it. So you cannot say that they have, but you have to accept the fact that they are responsible for slicing of pieces of land. And hence, India going offensive may perhaps not solve the problem, may aggravate the situation. But we have to make preparations at our end that whenever there is an incidence of such encroachment, we put pressure on the spot to see that they don't encroach and create diplomatic pressure around with other countries which are impacted to put pressure on China not to do so. Do you get the
Yes,
line
sir.
of the argument?
Yes, sir.
Has everyone else understood not the answer but the manner in which it is done? Do you get the slant of it? So right through the conversation today, I will keep telling you as to how do you approach an answer. I mean, the facts shall be provided by you. I may not be even conversant. This I may be conversant, but other questions that you may raise, I may not be aware of the facts because you are in the know of things. Okay, Preeti.
Thank you, sir. Yes,
right.
thank you, sir.
We'll have a conversation separately. Vasant, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Good evening, sir.
Please go ahead, Vasant.
Sir, yes. So how to go about...
Can you be slightly louder, Vasant?
Yes, sir. Sure, sir. Sir, how should we answer, for example, the questions like, now there is a debate regarding collegium versus NCERT, the appointment of judges. Like from judicial perspective, there are pros and cons in collegium system. From the executive perspective, there are pros and cons in NCERT. So how to address such questions, sir?
Vasant, first you should try and formulate the answer that you think should be the answer. Okay.
Yeah.
And then my job is basically not to give you an answer. My job is to tell you how to articulate that, how to present that answer. So what is your answer to it? Let me pose a specific question to you. And this sort of question should be posed in group discussions also. Do you think that there should be a separate judicial authority to appoint judges? That's the question. Because that's the debate.
Yes, sir. To my understanding, I will go with like the present collegium system, sir, but with certain modifications. Why? Because there is if we take a granular approach, there is a consensus-based mechanism over there in appointment of judges in the present collegium system. Why? Because a 4-layered scrutiny is being done in this collegium system. And the allegation about judges are appointing judges can be negated by this statement, sir. So I would take a stand where a slight modification, consensus, a broad-based consensus can be added to the existing collegium system instead of removing the collegium and putting NJSC in its place, sir.
Now let me respond to his answer and listen to this very carefully. When answering such a question, don't start with an immediate solution to the problem. You open your statement that you agree or you disagree. Don't do that.
Okay.
The opening statement should be, sir, there are, as you started the discussion, that there are pros and cons of the issue. Whereas on the one hand, it is alleged, and it's not only your view, it is alleged that the independence of the judiciary may be impacted if executive is allowed to choose judges. However, what is being proposed by the government is not pure executive. What is being proposed is a combination of executive and judiciary. And in that sense, that I personally feel, I mean, that's my view, that probably an independent body would be better, because in my limited understanding, nowhere in the world do the judges appoint themselves. India is a unique country. So that's my point of view. So, but I'm not making a categorical statement that it should be made. So what you will do is you list out the pros and cons of either point of view and then give your point of view. Don't start with your point of view and start justifying it, because then the other part doesn't get to be known. So it's a better way of going about it is, suppose when they say that, they say, sir, the existing system has been criticized and that is why this has come, but it has its merits. You lay down these merits. And then say the problem with the existing system are 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the problems. On the balance of it, sir, I would feel whatever that view is. My view is that there should be an external agency. Your view is no, it should continue with modification. Say that, no problem. They are not looking at the rightness of your approach or rightness of your or the correctness of your final conclusion. What they are observing, and that's I said in the beginning, they're looking at how are you approaching an issue. Is this understood by all of you? Mohit Mangal has gone into some darkness and he's sitting like Gautam Buddha with no response whatsoever. So when a board member talks to you and looking glum like this, you are dead because you are looking dead. So at least, my dear friends, the reason why I asked you to open your videos is some expression on your face. Pick up a stone and throw at me, that's fine with me, but some expression. You can't sit like a Buddha sitting there, no? You have not yet got nirvana, no? You will get it. But you can't sit like a Buddha. Respond. Even in a personality test, and I'll keep pointing this out to you, it's a conversation that is happening. You can't appear to be so tense that there's no expression coming on your face, like I see in case of Manpreet. He's sitting like this, as if I'm going to hit him. No, I'm glad you're smiling. Smile a bit. Some smiling. Yogesh Sani, I don't know whether it's photograph or it's your video. I thought it was a photograph. It was so still. No impression coming. I thought it's a photograph. Wow, wonderful. I'm so glad you moved because I thought it's a photograph sitting there. Right. We go to Lokesh Singh. These side observations, take note of them because that's going to give you marks, not your answers per se. Yes, Lokesh, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Lokesh.
So my question to you, sir, I have written in my hobby, sir, I like to play classical music in sitar, sir. So, sir, in that particular, sir, how much depth that I need to go into, sir? Because
okay, so I won't answer your question because I said personal questions will be separate. I will answer a question generally. That how much should you know about your hobby? I had answered this question during the last session, but perhaps you didn't attend it. In case of hobby, you're not supposed to be an expert. What is a hobby? I'm repeating this, which I said last time. Hobby is something which you do in your spare time and you enjoy doing. You can use this as an answer also. What is a hobby? How is it different from other things that you do? Do you agree with my understanding of hobby? I've never read it anywhere. This is my own definition of hobby.
Yes, I agree with you, sir.
Something in your spare time and you enjoy doing it.
Yes.
These two are important components of hobby. No, you need not know the nuances of it. You can say no, it will not go against you. Don't try and fib. Say no. But if you know something about hobby, it may add to your value. Hobby, the advantage here is if you say no to the details of hobby, it will not be held against you. But if you know the details of your hobby, then you might get additional 1 or 2 marks.
Okay, sir.
Right? Yes. So not knowing much about your hobby will not be held against you because that's what hobby is all about. But knowing something more about it will show some depth in your hobbies and probably give you more marks. So that much you should know. But don't worry about studying books about hobbies. Sometimes I interact with all of you. They say, sir, I'm studying these days. I'm studying this. I said, forget studies. Mast raho yaar. Aaram karo, gap karo. Speak as much as you can. Forget books for the while. People ask me, sir, optional mein main kitna taiyar karu? Humne ko optional kitabin phek do bahar. Don't become tense on acquiring knowledge. I'm repeating it. Try and prepare yourself to use the knowledge that you already have. And my friends, if you are actually participating in group discussions, I don't know whether you're benefiting from the knowledge that comes out of the group discussion. Are you benefiting from the information that comes? That should be good enough. I look at some of your topics, they're brilliant topics. Why do you want to read more about it? That should be sufficient for you. So don't spend your time, worsening your eyes. Vocal cords ko kharab kariye. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Right, Lokesh. Ishani, over to you. Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Good evening, sir. Ishani here.
Good evening, Ishani. I must compliment Ishani and a group. Such wonderful discussion they have. Which group is that, Ishani?
Group 1, sir. 1,
Huh?
sir. 1, sir. 1. Group 1, sir.
And who are your other members here? Can you raise your hands, the other members of Group 1? Anybody here? Nobody? Does anybody from your group here? Okay, they don't need guidance, but I think the group is doing very well. Go ahead, Ishani, ask your question.
So my question pertains to certain controversial questions at which your state could be at loggerheads with the central policy. For example,
Correct.
in the state of Tamil Nadu, the 2-language policy is usually imposed, but the national education policy talks about 3-language. So I may be asked a question as to what do you support or how do you reconcile this issue?
Yes.
So
what
maybe
is your answer?
Yes, sir.
What is your answer? Then I'll tell you how to couch it in a language.
Right, sir. My attempt would be, so the plausibility of such a language issue is usually because there's a cultural anxiety that the loss of a language may cause a loss of culture. Moreover, the Officials Language Act of 1963 has exempted the imposition of Hindi in a state like Tamil Nadu based on the foundation of social justice, etc. Moreover, the Article 350A of the Constitution also talks about instruction in the mother language. But at the same time, in my opinion, a long-term consensus is required between the two federal units because both the policies do talk about the preservation of language and culture. Perhaps our solution could be that we have a long-term consensus, dialogue for cultural and political unity rather than imposition of a particular language policy, sir.
10 on 10, Ishani. I can't find a better answer. Anyone, if you can come up with a better answer? Anyone? If you have better answer, give me. I don't have answer better than what you do. So it's a 10 on 10 for you. Not only is the content good one, researched one, you have presented it in a manner that it doesn't appear to be categorical one. Who was the first questionnaire here? I was using this phrase, don't come up with that this should be done. Here is, she is presenting a suggestion in a manner that a suggestion should be put. She's not saying this is it. She's not saying this should be done. She's saying this is the possible way forward. This is very important. Ishani, 10 on 10 for you. I can't think of a better answer.
Thank you.
Right? So I can't add because you've not only embellished it with the provisions of the Constitution, you embellished it with a particular law, and your argument is absolutely correct. That's how it should be. And let me further elaborate on what Ishani has said. In all such controversial issues relating to center having a different point of view and state having a different point of view, your job should be reconciliation. You should never make a statement that center is right and state is wrong, or state is right and center is wrong. You should try and develop a middle path and look for reconciliation. I was glad the way she concluded it. We should get into a dialogue, in a discussion, find a political consensus. That's how things move in a democracy. You can't say this should be done and it should be done. In case of 3-language formula also, the national education policy also does not impose a 3-language formula. Actually, policy is suggestive in nature. So it's not imposition. There was a lot of hue and cry, but it died down because it was explained that this is left to the states. They can decide whether they want to have that or not. So they can push you further on that. Tell me categorically whether the 3-language formula should be imposed on Tamil Nadu. How would you respond, Ishan?
Sir, I would say the imposition of language may not be the only solution, sir. Even in international scenario, we have seen that First Nations of various, such as USA and UK, also allow preservation of local languages, sir. The imposition of a language may create discrepancies and certain tussles between the units. I believe the local government should be given freedom for the same, sir.
Wonderful, Ishani. I hope this is recorded and others listen to this. And it's fortunate number of people who are sitting here and listening to this. That's how an answer should be given. That's it. I don't have much to say. Maybe next year when you qualify for the IAS, you will be talking to people to tell them how to answer this question. God bless you. We go over to Atul Gaware. Atul, unmute yourself.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening,
everyone. Sir, I'm Atul Gaware. Sir, my question is how to take stand on the question like interstate border disputes, which are long pending in the courts or judiciary. So how to take stand on such issues, sir?
First of all, don't take a stand. Why do you want to take a stand? You take a stand when you're sure what is right. No, tell me, any one of you here, when do you take a stand? You take a stand, in my understanding, when you know this is the right thing.
Yes, sir.
As I keep saying, at your stage, you don't really know what is right.
Yes, sir.
It may be an impression. Should you take a stand? Should not take a stand. So what you will do is, you will look at the various mechanisms or methodologies through which a reconciliation, a resolution of issues can be found out. Sir,
Yes, sir.
the most difficult issues have been resolved through negotiation and dialogue, internationally and within the country. At the time when the dispute arises, the emotions are high and people take a stand. And that's what I'm saying. Hard stands are taken and it doesn't get resolved. There are many ways of doing about it. Many number of issues have been resolved through this, either through negotiation between the disputing parties or through an arbitration or through a third-party intervention. There are various ways of going about it. Best would be to evolve such mechanisms rather than taking a stand whether Maharashtra is right or Karnataka is right in claiming. I'm really surprised why this dispute is going on. I mean, I'm digressing a bit because that could be asked about you. Suppose you belong to Maharashtra cadre. What will be your view on the villages that are being claimed by Karnataka? You can't say, sir, it should be given to Maharashtra. It belongs to Maharashtra. You are dead. If I were you, I'll say that, first of all, I'd like to examine this issue. I'm not fully conversant with who does it actually belong to? What is the issue? I have not examined it. They will admit it. At least I would answer this because I'm not fully conversant. I've just read it in the newspapers, their views of all types. I can't. So first, understand the issue very clearly. And then try and identify the meeting grounds. Resolution happens when there are 10 issues to be resolved. You find out 1 or 2 issues where there is a meeting ground. And that's where you build confidence between two parties and then gradually expand and get resolution of other. As a civil servant, and I hope, and I'm sure most of you will make it, that's how you go and resolve issues. You can't take a stand. If you take a stand, you take a stand when you are clear. So, for example, a crime has happened. Then, of course, there's no dispute. A crime has happened, the criminal has to be caught. You take a stand and catch him and put him behind the bars. That's what you. But in a dispute, how can you take a stand? So, Atul, try and not use this word. This is the stand that we should take. No. There are no categorical stands. There are no categorical answers. Is that right? Is everyone listening to this? Because this is relevant to each one of you. Don't try to take a stand. If the board pushes you to take a stand, then take a stand. But they won't. They won't. They might keep asking questions to see how far can you go into, this method of moderation, not taking a stand, not taking extreme view. They might push you. Don't get pushed.
Thank you,
right.
Sir.
Okay, we go to, that is Grisha. Is that right? Grisha, unmute yourself. Grisha, I can't hear you. There's something wrong with your audio. Can you correct it? In the meanwhile, we'll take Ankur. Grisha, try and do with your audio. You take off your earphones and do it directly. Later on, we'll come back to you, Grisha. Don't worry. Ankur.
Good evening, sir. Am I audible?
You are more than audible. Actually, there are 2 Ankurs that are speaking. I don't know why it's echoing. Either your phone is open. Speak again. Good.
So my question is related to how do we handle the situation-based question? For example, in one of the mocks, I was asked that suppose you are the Home Secretary of your state, what steps you are going to reduce the crime rate of the state?
So, crime rate of
your state.
Okay.
So
how did you answer the question?
My approach was that sir, first I'll try to understand the reasons of the crime, and for that I'll try to take a look over the demography of the state and also try to map it with the economy and other social parameters like caste, gender, etc. So by understanding the whole scenario, I'll be able to pinpoint the reasons whether the crimes are more caste oriented or economic disparity based, and then accordingly I'll make policies in that direction.
What did they say? Mock people?
They said that it required a more crisp answer. It requires a more crisp approach instead of a more generalized one, like you said.
So what you have to do is, and they rightly pointed out that you have to go into slightly more of specifics, though it is not expected of you. You don't know what does the Home Secretary do. Those guys may have been Home Secretary who was sitting there. You don't know what the Home Secretary does at this point in time. You have a vague idea of it. But I think you started it correctly. And this applies to all such problem-related issues. Now I'm generalizing it and I'll try and answer. You must understand the why of a problem first in order to find a solution. And also analyze the nature of crimes. So is it crime against women? Is the caste-related crime? Or it's just a criminal act? So once you categorize the crime, then handling of the crime becomes much easier. And then you could have given an example. If it is crime against women, then what is the nature of the crime? Once you understand and go into the depth of a problem, then you will be able to find a solution. So suppose female feticide is a problem. It's a crime.
Yes.
Right? It's also a crime against women.
Yes.
So from general crime, you come down to crime against women, to feticide, and then find out, is it a social issue or it is a purely criminal issue? It is a social issue. So how do you go about it? Then interact with social groups there, create awareness in terms of, a message against female feticide and things like that. Look at what are the existing provisions of law. How do they determine whether it's a female fetus or non-female, because it's banned under the law. So if you give this example, I've just picked up one example, then they will know that you've gone. Obviously, you can't explain all the examples, but you take one category of example, they will say, yeah, it's crisp. You've gone into details of one, you can grow into the details of others. Let's take other aspect. Suppose the law and order is the primary issue of crime and it is communal in nature. Then the whole approach will be totally different. So if you give these categories, your answer will be complete. But you started off well. You could have gone into a bit more detail. That could have done. Does that help you, Ankur?
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Right. Girisha, we come back to you. See if your audio is fine. It's still not working. Still, Girisha, you'll have to work towards it. What I would suggest is you can type it in the chat box. If in the meanwhile, I'll take somebody else. Oh, there's nobody else. So you can there's nobody else for the question here. Yes. Iram, you can go ahead, ask your question.
So my question, sir, there's a question. Should same-sex marriages be legalized?
What legal marriage is being legalized?
Same-sex marriages, sir.
Okay. So
Should
what is
they
the
be
question?
legalized right now?
What
so
is your
this
answer?
question? If they are, I think the LGBT community has been discriminated for a very long time, and recently Supreme Court decriminalized the homosexuality, Section 377, and I think it will be a right step if we legalize the same-sex marriages, but that will not be enough. The mindset of society needs to be changed, so more debate and discussion needs to be there in the society about this issue.
Good answer, Iram, but if you can relate it to the choice of an individual, if you can relate it to human rights, see, nowhere are you justifying it on the basis of the choice of an individual. Nowhere have you justified in the case of human rights, because that's the more fundamental reason why they should be allowed. It's a choice of an individual. And society thought that choice was incorrect, but now that has been decriminalized. So personally, I felt it should have been decriminalized long ago, but nonetheless, it has been decriminalized now. So from purely legal point of view, there's nothing illegal in that. Once that is done, we should allow people to choose what they want to do. Sometimes what I choose may not be allowed by the society as it was done in the past, may not be allowed by the law. Right now, there is nothing against homosexuality. If that be the case, putting a legal stamp on it, no harm will be done. Second point you made very well, that we need to educate the society about it, create awareness that as we have rights, people who want to marry the same sex should have similar rights. We can't discriminate and say that I have a right to marry who I can, but he doesn't have. So I would answer this question in the context of human rights and choice, rather than in the context of Supreme Court having done something and it should be done. It's more fundamental than what Supreme Court says. In fact, the Supreme Court decision itself is based on the recognition of rights of such people. right?
Okay.
So Iram, does
Yes,
that
sir.
add value to what you're saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Girisha, could you correct your audio, or you typing your question?
The question she wrote is, I wanted to discuss the issue of selective bulldozing of houses of protesters in certain states.
So let us try and understand how the question could be structured, because I'm not discussing an issue. We must understand this. Board will be asking you questions, or it will depend on the nature of the question. So let me hypothetically say what could be the possible questions. Is it appropriate to raise the houses selectively by the government? This is the question, right? It's a very controversial question. It's a very controversial thing. So if I were to answer, I'll say, sir, first of all, we'll have to examine whether it is legally tenable, whether the law permits it. If the law doesn't permit it, selective or not selective is not material at all. It is illegal. So let us assume, because I have not examined the law in this context, you'll have to see what the law is. Let us assume that it is legally okay to erase the house, to bring down a building. Then the next question comes, whether selectively doing it is correct or not. Then the other question would be whether it is actually being done selectively. So, sir, if it is, first it has to be established that in similar cases, other houses not being demolished and if houses of particular communities are demolished, then to my limited understanding and my view, sir, probably it is wrong. I'm not saying it is wrong, probably it is wrong. But it will have to be clearly established. First, the demolition is legal, and second, it is selective in nature, where it is not, the determination is not objective in nature. You can say that. So you're not hurting anybody, you're giving a point of view. They may still say, no. How do you know that they're selective? I said, that's precisely, I said, sir, first we'll have to determine whether it is being done selectively or not. Because there will be some people sitting who have a particular bent of mind in the board itself. So they will try and corner you, don't get cornered. Just smile and smile. All of you. Thoda halka sa smile. Halka smile acha rehta hai. Don't look tense. Practice smiling. And even in group discussions, practice smiling. Aur ko rokiye, tokiye. You should smile a bit, no? Once you appear relaxed, you start relaxing. It's the other way around also, right? Okay. Sudhanshu.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Sudhanshu.
Sir, my question is, if we are asked whether there is a need for parliamentary discussion on border issues like Tawang, then what should be the answer?
What is your answer?
Sir, in my opinion, since we are a parliamentary democracy, hence it is important that several issues should be taken up at the parliament. However, equally important is the national security angle as well. So the main irritant in this particular case is the lack of trust between the opposition and the government. So at least some measures can be taken for the confidence building between the two sides, whether it is through all party meeting or through some parliamentary committees behind the door, so that at least we can avoid politicization of such crucial issues, and trust is also maintained between the both sides.
Good answer. Just a slight change when you start answering the question. You very well said that it is a parliamentary democracy. What we have to determine is what all facts and details can be revealed to the parliament should be revealed to the parliament. If there are facts that needs to be hidden as a consequence of national security, that need not be. But in no situation are all sets of facts to be hidden. So by revealing certain facts to the parliament, the misunderstanding or the misapprehensions that exist on an issue can be dispelled, and it can clearly be stated to the parliament. The other aspects are best not revealed in the context of national security. World over, this practice is followed. But by not making a statement, by not discussing it at all, it unnecessarily creates misapprehension. So it's a very positive reply, right? Sudhanshu?
Yes, sir. Sir, another question. Sir, again, it is with respect to judiciary only. Can we use example of some other institution to justify something which is against judiciary? For example, the vacation of judges issue.
Yes.
Sir, if in case it is asked to us that whether the vacation is needed or not, whether it is right or not, then can we say that with the higher authority there comes more responsibility?
No, don't pontificate at all.
Okay.
Never. No, don't give. No, you should not come up with phrases, phrases like this. You should do this and this. They are sitting on a pedestal. They should. No. Never. Take it from me. Never ever say that this is what they should be doing. No. You're too young a person to pontificate on an issue or give gyan on an issue. You take it as a matter of fact. You can start by saying it's a fact, sir. There are the judges take vacations. And in my understanding of the issues, perhaps this was when the British were here, the judges had to travel back to England during summers and winters, and that's how the vacation started. They may still need it for some reason, which I am not conversant with. So there's no harm in giving them vacation, but we have to look at it in the context of the pendency of the cases in the court. And does it justify? You're not answering the question. In fact, you are raising the question. You're saying, is it justifiable for the judges to have such long vacations, sir? I have been mulling over it. I don't have a final view on that, but in my limited understanding of the issue, perhaps this needs to be revisited. You're not saying it should be done. You are leaving a question mark back to the board and saying perhaps it needs to be revisited. So you're keeping the door open. You're not saying it should be done. That, I keep telling you all this because I don't want you all to say this should be done, this should not be done. This is not expected of you. But if you answer it in this manner, they will say, he's a thinking man. He's raising the right questions, of which no one knows the answers, no. And anyone sitting on the other side of the board can never justify anything themselves. They may have an opinion. So you say it should be rethought. Now, when you say rethinking, which means that you have already a doubt about the vacations without saying it is wrong. It's the language issue, what you say. That's why I keep telling you practice use of these words so that they come out naturally in your conversation. So does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Sir, one more small question. Sir, when we are using phrases like with my limited knowledge, can we use such phrases in a fact-based question as well?
Yes, you not conversant with all the facts. That is where you cannot be limited. It is only the facts that are limited. So in that sense, if you don't have full facts, like let us take in case of vacation for judges. Now, I may not be fully conversant how much vacation they take. I know broadly they take winter vacation. They take summer. But they ask me how many days, I can't answer that question. So I don't have full facts at command. I know they take summer vacations. I know they take winter vacations, but I don't have exact number of days. So I'm not conversant with full facts. I'm conversant with some facts. Right?
Right, sir.
So why I use this word limited? Because you are not expected to know all facts. So long as your views are based on the facts that you know, they will know that this chap comes to a views on basis of facts. वो जो आपने बीच में statement दिया था that they should do that, there's no factual in it. They are such high stature. What is fact in it? It's just an opinion, no? High status people should be more responsible. No? There's no fact in it. This is gyan. So you must understand the difference between gyan and facts. Don't become a gyani purush there. Don't tell them because they are in high position, they should behave in a particular manner. No, what is fact in it? It's just views, vacuous. What you say is right. I'm not denying what you're saying. But the point is, in an interview, you should not be using those terms, right? Vasant, please unmute yourself, ask your question. Vasant, unmute yourself. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Sir, how to respond on questions like, is the policy
Can you be
effective?
slightly louder, Vasant?
Yes, sir, sure. Sir, how to respond to questions like, is the policy still relevant or has it achieved its objectives? Should it be scrapped off? Like, for example, national education policy and all.
Yeah.
How to go about
What is your answer?
Sir, regarding this, like,
no, let me ask this question of you.
Yes.
Was there a need of national education policy? Okay. Is it similar to the question that you were raising or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Answer this question. Was there a need of national education policy?
Yes, sir. Definitely.
Hold on. No, everyone heard the first word that he used. Manpreet, you are again Gautam Buddha. I am all for Gautam Buddha, but I don't want you to be like Gautam Buddha. You should show some expression. Did you notice the first word that he used? Manpreet, can you unmute yourself and answer this? Manpreet Sharma, please allow him to unmute. Manpreet Sharma, please unmute Manpreet Sharma. StudyIQ, is somebody listening to me there? Please enable Manpreet Sharma to unmute.
So he used definitely and started with.
Good, you can mute yourself again. Now, I have been repeatedly saying don't start with this.
Sir, can I justify? Yes.
No, you started by saying definitely.
Why? Because sir, education is such an issue, we can't find a reason to oppose it. That's why I started. Sir, am I audible, sir?
Person, you are audible, but I'm disturbed that you're repeating the same thing again.
Okay.
Please try and understand. You have not to start with a categorical statement. You have not to start. There is a reason behind it. Because you've revealed yourself right in the beginning. Until as they say, answer me in 2 words, whether it should be done, yes or no. Then you have to say. Then you have no option. But this way, if I were you, I'll start by saying, sir, there is a purpose behind coming up with such a policy. The last policy was announced in 1986. A lot of world has changed around it. And hence, perhaps there was a need for coming up with a new policy. Then you can go and do a critical part of it, whether it is relevant, good, bad, ugly, you can say that. Right? Vasant, do you get my point?
Yes, sir, sure.
You know, all of you should note this conversation very clearly. Don't start with saying, I mean, definitely is much worse than yes. You don't leave any space behind you. You are cornered, you are dead. Why do you start with the conversation? You can nod your head in agreement, but don't say definitely. When you are listening to the board member, you have to slightly nod your head because he should know that you are listening. Not like some of you who I don't know whether you're listening to me. Board should know you are in a conversation, you are in a communication. It's a two-way thing. So since you are not speaking and the board member is speaking, how do you tell him that you are listening to him? Eye to eye contact with him and slight nod of it. That's how the conversation happens. And then gradually take him to the point that you want to believe him in. We want him to believe in. That is definitely. In the ultimate analysis, you can convey definitely, but don't start with definitely.
Okay.
Right? And this applies to all the policies of the government. They may say, they may come up, after you are through, I'll come up with some extreme issues. Farm bills should have not been brought at all. So I will come up with this, not right now. I'll come up with, once you're through, I have some questions, extreme questions, and I'll ask of you.
Sure.
I will not ask you such an extreme question, but I want you all to be prepared to answer such questions. You should be prepared. Because I was listening to some of your group discussions, and that is where I got to know that we must position and ask these extreme questions and see what are your responses. Right?
Sure.
Vasant, are you comfortable now? Definitely more.
No, sir. I'm comfortable.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Right. Mohit, you can unmute yourself and ask your
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, there has been a contestation or discussion regarding to the rewriting of the history. Like Prime Minister also mentioned about it. So if a board member asks directly us that should there is a need for rewriting of the history. So how should we approach it?
What is your answer? Should history be rewritten?
So, sir, I will start with that. The interpretation of the history has been very contested since the India got independence, because every scholar and every academician have their own aspect of the history. there may be some sections that maybe need to be revisited, where we have not given the due weightage. For example, the contribution of the woman in Indian struggle. So these type of sections may be added in our history books, but it should need a widespread consultation, not only with the state governments, but also with the scholars, historians, or also it should be based on scientific facts. Along with it, while rewriting it, we should give utmost importance that facts should not be molded with. The facts should remain as they are, but the interpretation should be balanced in order to ensure that the reader can assess their own conclusion about it.
Mohit, 9 out of 10. Why I have not given you an additional mark which I gave to Eshan? An excellent answer, but your articulation needs to improve a bit. That's it. Otherwise, I think purely from the way you presented it, the example that you gave, excellent. 9 out of 10. Absolutely no doubt about it. You practice more speaking more, participate in group discussions. I hope you are. You will be able to get 10 out of 10 on that. Very good answer. Right?
Okay, sir.
I don't have much to add. Can anybody else add to this? The answer that Mohit gave. Anything else that you would like? Any comment, or you can raise your hand and we can have a discussion on that. I thought this was a very well articulated answer. Ishani, would you like to add something to what Mohit said? Unmute yourself, yeah.
Sir, even I thought it was a good answer, but perhaps I would have added that in today's postmodernist school of thought, we do allow interpretation of history by historians in terms of the gender of the writer. And a lot of times, as history is popularly said that history is written by the victors, we do require an open platform to allow factual corrections as well.
Okay, good. Any other observation on that? Right, so there are no other observations. Any other question that you have, Mohit?
No, sir.
Right. Anybody else? Any question, clarification that you want to see? Right. So, oh, there are two hands there. Both of you have asked the question. I'll repeat it. Sudhanshu, please unmute yourself, ask your question.
Sir, actually, I gave a mock interview and there was a small problem that the person who was asking the question, he himself was taking long pauses in between while asking even one question only. So there was some problem that I started giving my answer. It was seen as something inappropriate. So how to understand that when the question is over and when should we speak?
Pause for 2-3 seconds. Because I don't think in a regular board, there will be such fellows who would pause for longer than 3 seconds. It won't be. But pause for 2-3 seconds. Or when you feel that he's finished, you can ask them, sir, may I answer? Instead of answering the question, when you get this feeling that he's through and he's still not through, by asking him, sir, may I answer? He will say, no, let me complete. Then you, or he will continue quiet. So you will not appear as interrupting him. It is just an impression that you got that he's completed and you are answering that question. Does that help, Sudhanshu?
Yes.
And for heaven's sake, haath jod ke, don't go such mock interviews. You will unnecessarily, some of those guys sitting in mock interviews should be mocked at. So go to 1 or 2, understand what your problem is, then prepare. Don't unnecessarily keep mocking there. You know, the nomenclature is very good, mock interview. They keep mocking at each other. So go to 1 or 2, assess what your strengths and weaknesses are, then prepare. Spend that time with discussion. I forgot to mention one point and I'm saying it now. How many of you are in Delhi right now? Please raise your hands. Okay, so what you can do is, apart from virtual discussions online, if you can organize a physical discussion. You know, you can't imagine the benefit that will accrue to all of you sitting across a table over a cup of tea and discussing issues. Do that if you can, right? Okay, Ankur.
Yes, sir. So I would like to add to the point which you were mentioning, that we need to address both the sides of the question, like pros and cons. But for example, a question like, has India benefited? What do you think that has India benefited from the war, Russia-Ukraine war? So in questions like these, so we start like war is not beneficial for anyone, and specifically in this particular case, yes, there is a sense that crisis becomes an opportunity for someone. So in the context of India, India has lost a lot of stuff in when we talk about the economy, in terms of agricultural loss for edible oil imports, in terms of manufacturing loss for palladium and other metals imports. Apart from that, there have been human resource losses, like medical students who were studying in Ukraine. Moreover, it has also presented itself as an opportunity because India has been able to now procure oil from Russia at a cheaper rate. And apart from that, the stature of India has improved globally in the sense that the world is seeing India as one of the possible mediators of the war. So, sir, during this answer, where is my opinion, which was the answer, which was the question asked? So the whole answer becomes like beating around the bush.
No, it is not. It is not. You have concretely stated what are the benefits that accrue to India. Excellent. You concretely stated what has been the impact of war. So don't worry about it at all. You cannot say that war is good or Ukraine war is beneficial to India because there's no measure. Is there a measure? There's no way that you can say yes or no. So you've done the best. If they push you thereafter, do you think it is beneficial? Sir, on the balance of it, I would believe that war is bad for the world. But that you say in the end, not definitely in the beginning. Okay. You're pushed to it. You are not repeating about the bush if you are bringing in pros and cons of all the issues that are presented. If you want to present, sorry?
Sir, it takes time to answer these questions. And during that...
You've taken less than a minute. They will give you more than that. You've spoken in less than a minute. What is the time? In a question, they will give you at least a minute to answer, no? And you said it so well in 1 minute, less than a minute, that it's done. Then they will ask you, no, I ask you for your opinion. Sir, in a war, who can justify a war, sir? In the present day world, on the balance of it, what in the ultimate analysis doesn't help anybody. Yes, we may have benefited in certain ways, but overall context, war doesn't help anybody.
Okay.
So that's the view that you can give in the end, right?
Okay. Thank you.
Right. Manasvi, you had raised your hand and then your hand is gone. Are you still want to ask a question or you are through? Manas, yeah.
Sir, I thought the question might not be relevant here because it was asked me in one of the mocks. So, sir, actually my optional is psychology and it was related to my subject. So I would like to discuss the answer that I gave and they said that it was not appropriate. So maybe...
Okay, let me try and address the last part of what you said. That in number of cases, the board may give a value judgment of your answer straight away. Right? That it is not correct, it is not appropriate, probably you've not studied it properly, you'll have to go into details. They comment on what you said, right? Don't get nervous. More often than not, it is to assess you. How do you respond to a negative input? How do you respond to a negative? Again, I told you last time, and in the second year of my interview, at least in 2 to 3 occasions, I don't exactly remember, 2 or 3, the board members totally disagreed with me. No, Mr. Swarup, I think you are wrong. What do you do? मैं जूता निकाल के या वो जूता निकाल के तो नहीं पकड़ेंगे ना. ठीक है यार, मैंने जो कहना था कह दिया. I didn't get nervous because I was aware of this fact that they would pass a comment on occasions. So the idea is, like in the first year, I did become nervous after I couldn't answer a question. The idea is to forget as quickly as possible a failure that has happened. Because that's a natural occurrence. You would not know answer. So in this particular case, if they say you are not correct or you are not appropriate, well, sir, I will try and understand this issue, or I'll try and study this issue further. Except the fact that you don't know. How does it make a difference? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
They say, in one question, I think Ankur or somebody else said, they said that you have to, and that was also in mock, that you have to answer it more specifically, more detailed. No, they can say that. Fair enough. Yes, sir. Don't say no to them. Say, yes, sir. That's what you're going to do in a bureaucracy. Say yes, sir, always.
Yes, sir.
Even when you want to say no. So learn it right now. Yes, sir. Right?
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Any other question? Okay, since there are no questions, let me come up with some questions that could be asked of you, and these are controversial questions. Let me start with one question, and I'll ask one of you to answer that question. Should hijab be banned in schools? Iram. Iram, unmute yourself. Yeah.
So there has been recent cases seen in Karnataka where hijab is banned in school. But according to my opinion, I think it is the individual's choice. I think right to education is the primary right which needs to be focused rather than the hijab issue. So I think it should be left to individual, because as we have seen, many girls from the minority communities, they were already not getting education, and because of the hijab, they have this opportunity to go to school and educate themselves. I think it should be. I think right to education is the primary right, and it should be the individual choice whether to wear it.
It's a very good answer. It's a very good answer. But instead of using the term should so often, probably you could think in terms of some other term there. It makes it very categorical. What you're saying is correct, but probably language that you couch in is that given the primacy of education to children and to women child, we have to see whether this sort of a ban will impact the rights of the individual to educate themselves. That is a question that we need to answer primarily, whether it should be banned or not. And in my considered view, perhaps it would be better that if the right to education is given primacy over sartorial details or sartorial bans. So what have I done, Iram? I have answered what you said, but in a slightly different language. I am repeating this language time and again for you all to understand on what language to be used. I tell you that will make a difference. My again suggestion to you, don't spend too much time on reading books. Many of you tell me, "Saab, मैं prepare कब करूँगा?" मैंने क्या prepare करना? पढ़ना है, बहुत पढ़ लिया. अब तो आप बोलिए, whatever you can, however you can, how much ever you can speak, and make a conscious effort to use these phrases that I'm suggesting, so that in a month's time they become your second nature. They come out automatically. They're coming out automatically from. I'm not making any effort, because I made an effort at some point in time to use that language. Initially, I also with a hard head, hard-boiled egg, I had my views. This should be done. This should be done. This should be done. I still have them, but I can change myself if I'm sitting with somebody. I can change that language. You have to practice that, right? Should BCCI, Board Cricket Control of India, should have non-cricketers on the board? People who have given cricket as a hobby will be asked this question. Now, who has given cricket as a hobby? Anyone? Raise your hand. I don't have your DAFs with me. Anybody's here? Yes, Mansvi. How would you answer this question?
Sir, in my view, putting non-cricketers in the board of BCCI has both its pros as well as cons. There can be good managers who have not come from cricketing backgrounds, but they have good managerial experience and administrative experience, who can bring in good dividends to improving the cricket's management. Whereas if cricketers themselves become the members of the BCCI, they also bring in certain traits, certain qualities to improve ultimately the game of cricket. They know the ins and outs of where the board has been lagging historically. So I think, in my opinion, if cricketers are given a priority over non-cricketers, it would be better. But if they are unable to perform in the given period of time, they can be replaced by non-cricketers as well.
Maharashri, how have you done your written papers?
Sir, I think they went well.
You will qualify. Call me 3 months down the line, you will be in it. Maintain this tempo, an excellent answer. Keep practicing it so that it comes naturally to you. It's a difficult question, you answered it very well. So that is what you should practice. Keep practicing this. Think of all tricky questions. In groups also, I find many of you are going into too much details of issues. Yes, you should know the details. But more importantly, how do we express those details? And this was an excellent answer. Let me come up with a few more tricky questions here, right? India's trade has not gone the way it should have. What suggestions would you give to improve India's exports? Has anybody commerce as a subject here? Or economics? Anyone here? Please raise your hand. No one with economics here? Okay, then I'll ask somebody. Priya Meena, please unmute yourself and answer this question. What would you do to improve the exports of the country?
Sir, I'm not very great at economics, but I will still try to answer this question.
Okay, so let us discuss this first. Let us come to a question which about you don't have the details. So don't use the word that I am not great at economics. Okay. No one is great at economics, so don't use the word great. You can say, sir, I will attempt to answer this question. Though, sir, I am not so well versed in this sphere. So you are admitting. And then you try and answer. So I don't want an answer from you. I just wanted to understand how would you approach a question of which you don't have an answer. Okay. Right? So no harm in not knowing an answer. The critical part is how you respond to a question. And that's why I asked this question of you, Priya. I was not aware that you didn't have the background, but you should know how to respond to a question of which you don't know an answer.
Yes, sir.
Lokesh, you want to say something? You have your hand there. Lokesh, please unmute, Lokesh.
Yes, sir. Sir, mine optional is economics, sir, since you asked.
Okay, you answer this question.
Sir, if India wants to improve its exports, there are two things that it has to work upon, sir. Firstly, sir, it has to improve its internal barriers, internal inefficiencies which are there in the economic structure, sir. And secondly, sir, it has to form better and renegotiation in the free trade agreements and the other bilateral or multilateral agreements where it is needed to work upon, sir. If we say
hold on, Lokesh. Hold on. I know you. Now, how about starting this answer by saying, though there are a number of measures that would be required to be taken to improve export, in my understanding, two are most critical. So I have changed your sentence a bit. Do you agree with this?
Yes, sir.
Don't start by saying there are two. You accept the fact there are a number of measures, not two. But in your understanding, these two are the most critical part. No harm in it. You can have a view on that. I may disagree with you, that's not material. But if you start by saying there are two, means there are only two. No other measure is.
I was trying to economy from two sides, from Indian perspective, within economy and global perspective. And if we have
then you start with saying this. We have to look at exports from the Indian perspective and from the global perspective. You're not saying two.
Okay.
You meant that perhaps, but had you said we are looking at from perspective can be two.
Yes.
But the steps have to be much more than two.
Yes, obviously.
What you explained to me now makes sense to me, but use the term then from the internal perspective, from the external perspective.
Rightly.
What is the market? How is the supply? We are looking at the demand side, we are looking at the supply side. So you're not saying two aspects, we are looking at two dimensions of it, which may have many issues, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we go to Mohit. Mohit, unmute yourself.
Yes, sir. Sir, my optional is also economics.
How would you answer? No, let me ask you a different question, not this one. Okay. The inefficiency of infrastructure in India is the primary cause of high pricing. Do you agree?
Okay. So I will answer is like that. So infrastructure has been our bottleneck with respect to the end-to-end connectivity and increasing the competitiveness in the exports of the market. As per the latest trade figure, we have only 2% international market share in the exports. So, government of India has been taking infrastructure projects at a very heavy-handedness, but still there are several bottlenecks like end-to-end connectivity. The logistic cost is one of the highest in the world, and we need to work upon them. So, for this, my suggestions would be like we need to continue investment.
Just hold on. Now, why I asked them this question? The question was not give suggestions. Did I ask? Listen to the question carefully and answer only the question that is asked. If you are not asked for suggestions, don't start giving your suggestion. Understood, Mohit? That is one.
Yes.
Number two, what you have to do is, when you started answering the question, it appears that infrastructure is the only cause for high pricing. There are many factors. So start the question by saying that, sir, high price of Indian product is a consequence of a number of causes. One of them and a principal cause is infrastructure. So you have defined it in a particular manner. Don't start answering by yes or no and saying that yes, infrastructure is the cause of high price. No. In the cost part, there are many other factors, the input cost, the labor cost, or whatever. Right? So though you have economics as a background, though you have data at your command, if the presentation is not appropriate, that data will not get. Is that understood?
Yes, sir.
Right? Okay, so may I suggest then to all of you that in your group discussions, you must start changing these group discussions now to asking questions to each other. So what you do is, you decide today we are going to interview X and other 4 will ask questions. Next day, other guy, the rest of the 4 will ask questions. So you will get into that mode of responding in a particular manner. Right? Is that okay with all of you? Any difference of opinion on this? Preeti, do you agree? You agree. Okay. Shivani, do you agree with the approach that I'm suggesting? Are you fine? You can just nod your head. You don't have to unmute yourself. I don't know if I am able to reach you, Shivani Kanwar. You're not Shivani Kanwar? Are you smiling? You're not. Oh, somebody else's name is. What's your? Okay, your name is some. Your name appears as Shivani Kanwar, so I asked you. Right, Bikash, you have a point. Bikash, you unmute yourself and ask the question.
Okay. Sir, I have a question. So can we paraphrase someone? Suppose I see some interviews or I read about someone's point of view. In the board, if they ask a question, can I say that this person has mentioned these points or this one person has given these suggestions?
Try not to do that. Your erudition, your knowledge has been tested on what others say. You can actually, after having made your argument, reinforce it by mentioning somebody, but don't start by somebody. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Suppose
don't start by saying that I am saying because he said it. No, you said it, and this gets reinforced by somebody else saying it. So if an economist has said it, don't start by mentioning that name of the economist or quoting that economist. It should come at the end. It should only reinforce the point that you're trying to make. Right?
Yes. Suppose yesterday I saw one interview of Mr. R.C. Bhargav. So he was talking about how to make better policy for industries in India. And I had similar viewpoints. So if I say these viewpoints and at the end I can have also the chairman of Maruti Group are pointed out such viewpoints in a piece.
You know, my personal view would be avoid as far as possible.
Okay.
But if you want to say, because R.C. Bhargav is a well-known former civil servant, did so well, you can quote him, sir. Perhaps a similar view has been reflected by Mr. R.C. Bhargav. But be prepared for then questions thereafter. Then they will ask you about Maruti. They will ask you about views in the newspaper. Be prepared. You know, these guys are very smart. They are trying to see which direction to take the interview. And the moment you give them this leverage of Mr. R.C. Bhargav, then any number of questions will come. I mean, Mr. Bhargav has been saying that for a while. Why isn't it happening? He's a well-known civil servant. Why didn't he do it when he was himself a civil servant? Things like that will come up with unnecessarily to you. If it's your point of view, they will not actually, they will stick to you. The moment you say, some people quote, Mahatma Gandhi, and be prepared that they will latch on to Mahatma Gandhi and take you to all the experiments that Mahatma Gandhi did, and you'll have to answer those questions. So be careful about, they may ask you about R.C. Bhargav. How well do you know Mr. Bhargav? Why did he leave to join Maruti? Why didn't he continue as a civil servant? No, you won't have an answer. You say, sir, I don't know. Why bring him there? So think over it. No harm, but it might divert the interview in a particular manner. You can do it consciously if you want. Right?
Sir, how about committees? Like suppose if they ask regarding EWS, so can we quote like the Sanjeev Sanil committee, which is constituted by the government for fixing the income limit at 8 lakh rupees.
See, so committee views are different from individual views.
Okay.
Or if there is a judgment that has happened, you can quote that judgment. If there is a committee that has come to a conclusion, you can say that. There is no harm in that.
Okay.
But individual views, it's a view written in a newspaper. So then there is a bit of a trouble.
Okay.
But if it's a committee, it has come to conclusion after some research, after some discussion, it has come to that. So you can do that, right?
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Committee, judgments, you can quote. No harm. But individuals, and that to publish in a newspaper, coming to a view, a decision, a conclusion based on an article may not be appropriate. That's what I feel. Right?
Yes, sir.
Any other question, or should we conclude if there are no questions? We can conclude this session. Right then, since there are no other questions, we will conclude this session. I hope you benefited from this session. I'm reiterating a couple of points. Number one, those that want one-on-one online discussion, they have been messaging me. You can message me again. We'll fix a time and have a discussion with you. That is one. Number two, we've also lined up a physical interactive session on 12th of January. For the online session, you message me directly. For physical session, you message Mr. Furkan, who's there right now, sitting in front of the StudyIQ signage. You have his number in the group also, so you can message him. So we accordingly line up who all can be called on the 12th of January for interaction. So that is two. And third, my suggestion again to you is please follow the protocol that I've suggested religiously, and also read the messages that are sent to you from time to time. It's important for you to understand what's going on. And finally, I think StudyIQ itself will be conducting mock interviews. Please attend those mock interviews. Attend mock interviews others are also conducting. No harm in doing that. But try and understand the relevance in the context of your own good and bad. You have to appreciate what is your strength, what is your weakness, and then probably you can discuss with me how to work on your strengths and overcome your weaknesses. Is that fine? Furkan, would you like to say something before we conclude?
So as always, this was a very informative session, and I hope everyone has noted down the points that sir has mentioned. From my side, as I even posted in the group, the messages in the morning, I would sincerely request everyone to take part in the group discussions if you are still idle, because I have seen over a period of time how the students have improved. And some of the students who gave the answers here, on which sir has appreciated, they have been participating in these discussions from day one. So I have been a private to all this from where it started. That is why I am again and again telling it to you. So I think all those of you who want an offline session can message me on 12th. The session is on 12th of January, and I have circulated the form already, and we'll stay in touch. And thank you, sir, for this, for taking out your time. And I'll provide the YouTube link shortly to each one of you. Okay.
Thank you very much, and God bless you. Take care and keep smiling. That's very important, right? And enjoy yourself. God bless you.